other big area that you've got to look out for is going to be what's known as the automobile exception. The Fourth Amendment is designed to protect your right to privacy, in that you don't want the government coming into your home and just rummaging through your stuff at random. They have to have a reason. They usually have to have a warrant. With your car, it is not considered to be as private as your house, mostly because it's mobile. You've got a bunch of windows, people can kind of see in, and it's just not given the same protections that a home would be given. So there, an officer has a right to search a vehicle if he has probable cause to believe that a crime has occurred. So for instance, you get pulled over for failure to use your turn signal, but you and your friends have been smoking, a bunch of marijuana in the car for the last hour. When the officer comes up to the window, he smells the strong odor of marijuana. He can ask for your consent to search the car, but if you tell him no, that's not necessarily going to keep him out of that car. He's still going to have probable cause to where he can potentially go through and search that vehicle. The other one that comes up with cars a lot is the inventory search. So this one is when the officers inventory, say, a vehicle incident to arrest. Let's say you were out at the bar that night, you had been drinking, you're driving home, you make a traffic infraction, the officer stops you, determines that, you're guilty of DWI, or he's got probable cause to arrest you for a DWI, puts you in his car, and calls a tow truck. The officers are required to then inventory that vehicle as to all of its contents so that they don't get blamed for anything that goes missing. When they search the car, if they uncover drugs, those will be admitted into court later on without the need for having a warrant, because you were already under arrest and we didn't violate your right. Well, the law enforcement didn't violate your rights by searching the car, because it was just trying to make sure you didn't lose anything. The reality of the situation is that anytime you get arrested for anything, even a minor incident, they're going to search your car, and anything they find in there that they think they can file charges against you on, they're going to go ahead and do it. Now, there are some exceptions to these exceptions, and the biggest one is going to be with any kind of cell phone, computer, laptop, tablet, any kind of data storage device. While the law enforcement can execute a warrant and seize these items as, potential instances or accessories to a crime, they still need a warrant to actually go in and access the data. Unless they have consent, of course. So, for instance, let's say you get arrested for DWI. They inventory your car and they find a cell phone in there. That cell phone and the data thereon will not come in under an exception to the warrant requirement on its own. In order to get anything off of that cell phone, they have to go back to the court, ask for a warrant, so that they can specifically access that device. This is why, like in child pornography and sexual assault of a child cases, the officers will go through and they will seize, when they do the arrest warrant, they'll seize all of the defendant's computers, cell phones, tablets, anything that holds any data. They don't necessarily know what's in there, but they just seize it all as instrumentalities of a crime. Then once they have it, they go back to the court and they say, well, we have all of these. There's allegations of, child pornography or child sexual assault. So we want a warrant so we can go through all of these devices and determine whether or not there are any images of child pornography on them. And so, those ones, there's no real exception. If an officer ever asks you, can I look at inside your phone, and you say yes, well, he's going through your phone and there's not going to be anything you can do about it. But absent that, they have to get a warrant in order to access those devices. Now, this is all important because when you get to trial, or getting ready for trial, you and your attorney are going to need to decide whether or not to file a motion to suppress. If the evidence was seized illegally, then you have the right to file a motion to suppress and argue that the officer violated your Fourth Amendment rights, and therefore the evidence that was seized illegally should not come into the trial at all. This is very important in drug bust cases, and mostly what they boil down to whenever it's in a car is, did the officers have the right to search that vehicle when they located those drugs? A lot of times you can work out deals with the state based on, hey, the plea bargain might be this if we win or if we lose the motion to suppress, or, the state will dismiss its case if you win, because the state doesn't really have a case if you do win that. So it's very important that you think about these things whenever you are interacting with law enforcement, because what you do will determine your attorney's ability to fight it. If you give consent, you can't complain about it. If you left the dope out on the table when your house was partially on fire and the law enforcement and the firefighters were trying to put it out and then noticed a big bag of dope on your table, well, you're not going to be able to do anything about that either. So it's very important that you keep in mind what your Fourth Amendment rights are, and that you exercise your rights. Don't make any statements. Don't give any consent to search. And the officers may still find the contraband anyways, but it'll be a lot easier to deal with on the back end if you've maintained your rights.